Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the show. And just like what Rebecca said, what a day. We have been anticipating this moment, and I'm going to let's see, how would I do this? That didn't work. What I want to do is I want to make sure, there's a quick way I check, make sure I've got audio. Hello, Dwayne, Lori, Rebecca, and Alex, especially Paige, Warrior Mommy, all you guys. Um, Welcome in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stream up until a little after 10 o'clock if I go that far, because what I do not want to do is step on Levi's shoes, so to speak. He's coming on at 10:30, and at 10:30 I'm going to go over there and watch his show, maybe call in or what have you. But the day went somewhat the way I thought it would. And hi, Kingfish. And there were some unexpected moments in there. Now, we started out early with the true star of this show arriving. She came in, and this was a rather interesting moment in the thing. This deputy actually helped her throughout this whole ordeal, and apparently he's going to make sure that the things go the way they're supposed to, as I will get into. And of course, Field Mcconnell had arrived just before she did. And those of you who watched the show, he went over to a bench right next to me, but it's kind of a V-shaped wall, so we couldn't see each other. But I could hear every word that Field Mcconnell said. And one of the things I heard was that he is not happy at all with Tim Homeseth, and I get the indication that he is not interested in ever seeing Tim Homeseth again. So I would suspect that we're going to be watching and see if Field does anything about the damage that Tim Homeseth has done to him. Now, there's a Zoom video running around there on the internet that people can watch. The hearing was 22 minutes long. I did the best I could to keep up with it. The audio in the courthouse is terrible, as they generally are in these things, but because it went over Zoom, it was crystal clear. Now, I've been told that Randy Homeseth, here we go with that again, watched that quote-unquote interesting person who has that blog was in there, Mr. T, and some other notables from the other side of the hill. And so that's an interesting thing that you should check out. I'm not going to give who did it because I found out from the court you're not supposed to record those things. So you got to be a little careful here. But anyway, enough of that. Now, the highlight of the hearing was Kim Picassio's impact statement. And I'll tell you, she really let loose on Field Mcconnell. And you had to be there in person to really witness one of the most emotional victim impact statements I have watched in a long time. And I got to do it in person. There's a lot of dynamics you get from personally being in the courthouse rather than seeing what is on a Zoom, where the camera is usually fixed on the judge himself. Let me go down through here. I saw something about Agent 19. I don't know if he showed up in Zoom. I wasn't the one monitoring the Zoom. I didn't monitor the Zoom at all because it's too hard to do, and I didn't want to risk creating problems in court. But a lot of the primaries were there, I guess. Yeah, that is what they generally do with these Zoom hearings. The judge is almost always primary on the screen, and unless he's taken testimony from people that are remote, the video will be fixed on him. Now, the way the hearing started is first, Field Mcconnell and his attorney showed up, and they went around. The elevator is kind of a strange thing. The bank of elevators is dead center in this room, and you can either come off the elevator and turn right towards me, which Kim did when she came up, or you can go to the left like Field did with his attorney, and they walked around all the way around behind the bank of elevators and came out to this door. And they walked up to the door. They were going to go straight in, but they hadn't unlocked the door yet. So they went and sat down on a bench that was around the... Oh, okay, Circo. Thank you for doing that. But anyway, they sat down and they were quite chatty, and that's where I was picking up bits and pieces. They were talking about airplanes and a airport and how the Field drove down from somewhere. Interesting shoes he's got on, by the way. But in the midst of that, they were talking about, because they were going over the terms of the probation or the plea, and it came right out that he is not in the least interested in talking to Tim Homseth again. And so, after a while, they opened up the courtroom, and Field and his attorney went in, and then Kim went in, and I went in. I shut down the broadcast and went in. And Kim and the deputy sat in the back of the courtroom to my right, across the other side of the courtroom. I sat over on the left. And sat over there with spectators that were on that side, plus other people that had court business. And the judge did a number of Zoom calls before Field's hearing, and there was one other in-person hearing that was relatively brief. They continued that particular... They did a lot of continuing till the month of October. And then Field case came up, and there was a little bit of discussion about that. And the judge was saying that you have agreed and blah, 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 and all that. And then after they had this little meeting, a few things came up, and before the formal proceedings started, and Field Mcconnell and his attorney left the courtroom to have a discussion and then came back. And when I finally listened to Dr. Fieldcourt was not at the Feelgood was not in court. There were very few people there to begin with, but nobody was there that had anything to do with Field Mcconnell except me, Kim, the detective, and some guy that had something to do with his probation. But anyway, so after that, after a while, the Field Mcconnell, the attorney, and this other guy came back, and apparently they had worked everything out when it came to the parole. If you listen to the Zoom hearing, you're going to understand why Field and the lawyer had left. They had to work out how the probation was going to work. And that right there told me that this was going the way I thought it would. And so they swore Field Mcconnell in. They asked him a couple questions and so on and so forth. And then the judge went over that that if it had gone to trial, he was facing 5 years in prison for a felony, and that the defense and the prosecution had negotiated a plea agreement where he would be potentially charged with 2 counts of violating an order of protection. And so they went through all that, and the judge did adjudicate him guilty. The judge told Field Mcconnell that he has to turn over all his firearms to the sheriff in Pierce County. That includes any guns in his possession or any guns that he owns that is registered to him that are not on the premises. So if he had given his guns to anybody else, he has to get those guns to the sheriff. So if he gave like, who the hell's ABC, by the way? He has to give all guns and ammunition, no matter where they're at, that he owns, to the sheriff. And apparently they have a list of all the guns. He is not allowed on the internet for the duration of the probation. He cannot repeat his threats against Kim, talk about Kim, mention her name at all. He can't do any show. There's one YouTube channel that's left on the internet that he and his lawyer must get taken down. The judge was emphatic about that. And one thing the judge was emphatic about that came up both during the discussion before the formal hearing and during the formal hearing is he cannot have any contact with Timothy Homeseth. Not at all. And he can't use email or anything on the internet to persuade people to cause harm to Kim Bacasio. And as part of his supervised probation, he has to give a list of anyone that he is going to be contacting, and he must go to the probation officer that will be handling him. If he needs to talk to somebody else on the internet, he has to give that information to the probation officer and then get permission to contact that individual or what have you. He is going to have any electronic media, be it a computer or a telephone, cell phone, monitored at all times. He is subject to be visited by his probation officer without warning, day or night. So they could just come in, knock on the door, and inspect the premises, inspect his computers, all of that. He has to pay court expenses. Let's see what else. There was a bunch of stuff. But then comes the highlight, and this is what I am going to be reading. And some of you have already seen it on the recordings that are out there and have heard the inflection, but he, let's see, I got to go over into here. Let me get this over here. Okay. So, all right, that didn't work. All right. And what this is, this was a impact statement that he or Kim made, and credit goes to Alex, who was kind enough to transcribe this for me. And so here we go. And so, impact statement, September 13th, 2021. And she starts out, I would like to make what is often referred to as a victim's impact statement. And, it goes on through here. This is a place I feel very comfortable in, and I'm sure Mr. Mcconnell does not feel comfortable in this house, and maybe he'll never want to be here again. So she came out, with both barrels right off the bat, and she went through and in excruciating detail gave her impression, her account of exactly what has happened. And it's, it points out that he renounced his citizenship, the same citizenship that is allowing him to collect his pension and other things. So he doesn't consider himself an American citizen. And he shouldn't be entitled to American benefits. And I'm not going to read all this because basically she you can go on the various locations and hear her highly intensive statement. But she put something in here that's quite interesting. She actually quoted from the Bible. And she said this: there are 6 things the Lord hates, 7 that are detestable to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked schemes, feet that are quick to rush into evil, a false witness who pours out lies, and a person who stirs up conflict in the community. Right out of the Bible. And so, Bill was basically told exactly how this is going to work out. No, I don't want that, darn it. Jesus. Notifications that keep going. I hate it. Y'all should be proud of her. She did an excellent job. She showed how damn good she is in court. She's one hell of a litigator. Town. And she was nice enough to invite me to lunch around noon. So we talked a little bit more about the day's events, and she was in much better emotional condition. She was happy, she was relaxed, and she was relieved that the ordeal is over. And now she's gone back to her normal life. So we now are going to have to wait and see what is in the future. But it would appear that this story is coming to an end. And well, what he is not so much an attorney as he writes this ridiculous blog, and he will email you whether you want to hear from him or not, and he sends the longest emails I have ever seen in my life. He will go on and on and on and on and on. He will put a million links in there, and you go bleary-eyed trying to read it, and eventually you just give up. But he has a history, quite a long one. And he also doesn't like his name mentioned. He got on my case and said, "Don't you ever mention my name." Well, he's a public figure, so he's, you know. But from what I understand, there were quite a number of people in the Zoom on both sides. Tamara was in there, I guess. Well, thank you, Lipstick. I did the best I could. I was limited to some degree. And one of my videos is missing. The video where I was in the courtroom texting live disappeared. The software crashed, and I think with it, the stream, so it didn't get recorded. That's the latest I've been able to figure out, but that's, everybody retweeted to Twitter, and then it got out. And the information's out there now anyway, because unbeknownst to me, they had the Zoom transmission, which I didn't expect. They normally don't do that. And so everybody got to see it. And, I just, I tried to do a little bit of background. I did the tour of the area before the trial. And it was very nice of Kim to show up and actually be willing to go on the air. She had indicated she might come and say hello and like that, but I never expected her to go on the air. And so it was nice that she did that. I really appreciate it. And again, she was perfectly blunt about how she felt about the whole situation. But yeah, you can't mention his name. But it was better than I expected. I didn't expect this to go as well as it did. I thought I was just going to be there. I was going to live tweet, maybe catch a glimpse of Field Mcconnell. And it was a total surprise, and because I usually don't do in-person interviews. It's, number one, it's too hard to get anybody to interview anyway. But, she was gracious enough to do that. And so it worked out, and I was wanting for you guys to get an impression of Kim in a normal setting. Usually the only time that you guys have seen Kim is through text messages. She rarely talked on the internet, and you certainly didn't see her in person talking unless you watched the old videos of either Levi or CNN or something like that where she was on. And so seeing her up close and personal talking to this little group was rather nice. Someone that has been on CNN and other nationwide television to sit down and talk to a guy with, a few people on the blog or YouTube channel was really nice. And hopefully she will be able to relax, not have to worry about somebody saying they're going to come down and shoot her. Thanks, Fireman. Appreciate that. And possibly Randy and Timmy are next. I mean, there are feelers out there about them and what might happen. So, tomorrow's another day. Tomorrow's another case. And I have to figure out what I'm going to do as far as what to cover. Right? I think I'm going to be getting back into the straight to the Abyss series because there's a lot of information there. Getting prepared for this hearing kind of threw me off track. Ooh, wow, Alex. Thank you. I much appreciate that. But Yeah, Randall, answer your door. So, Kim does something that Tim does not. She serves her community. It's like she said in the statement, she devotes 10% of her practice hours to pro bono work, which is how she got mixed up with the Cummings case to begin with. She went up there pro bono in an attempt to get custody back to a mother of her remaining children while Haley Cummings was still missing. And it turned out that she got into a hornet's nest that she wasn't aware of. And, the rest is history. And people over there have taken advantage of the situation, and what in a they're all she's doing is repeating old stuff. She has been silent about everything that happened today. And so is Smirky Kirky. I haven't heard anything out of Smirky Kirky yet about the fact that he was absolutely positively completely wrong about his okay, I don't know. I was just sent uh, a post from Mr. Hanley, and it reads like this: whistleblower Captain Phil Mcconnell is a free man. There is a report stating that he pled guilty, was sentenced to 2 years probation. When I queried him, his response was, quote, "No, I pleaded no contest. I am as free as a bird, and my ankle bracelet was removed 4 months ago." This is absolutely false. Anybody that listens to the recording will see that the judge adjudicated him guilty of 2 misdemeanor counts. When you are put on probation, that is because you have been found guilty. And I knew this was going to happen, that we're going to start seeing these know-it-alls come out here and say, oh, no, this didn't happen. Well, it did. And in 48 hours, I will have the ability to get the paperwork. I was told by the clerk of the court, I went down personally after the court and talked to the clerk of the court, and she said it will take 48 hours for all this to be on the record. And so it'll go up there. I'll do a show on it as soon as I get it. And it spells out exactly what Field McConnell is required to do. Yes, he's free as a bird, but it's my understanding, and I'm waiting to confirm this, that he is restricted where he can go within the state of Wisconsin. I'm not sure if he can leave the state of Wisconsin or even leave Pierce County, but he is restricted on his movements. He is subject to be monitored, and he is having his firearms and ammunition taken away. So whoever this Dan person is just another smirky kirky that thinks they know everything, but they don't. And he better pray that he's lying about being in contact with Phil McConnell. Because if he has been in contact with Phil McConnell has already violated his probation. And he can be thrown right back in the clink. So this particular comment is going to be forwarded. The person that sent this to me said that they're going to forward it. and you know who you are, to Kim and possibly even the court. Because Field Mcconnell cannot have contact with people like this Dan person. That is my understanding, CJ, and I have to confirm. I'm going to wait and confirm that he cannot leave the state of Wisconsin, but he's also restricted to where he can go, even within the state of Wisconsin. That he is either restricted to Pierce County or he's restricted in the area. And again, yeah, his email is very restricted. He can only use his email and internet for personal business, and he has to notify the probation officer in Wisconsin of who he has to provide them a list of people so that they can approve who he contacts. And they are going to monitor his account. They are going to monitor his email. And the field report has to come down. They have to make every effort under the sun to take that channel down. The judge made it crystal clear that channel has to come down. And so Eager Beaver or whoever it is that's running that channel has got to take it down. Who in the hell is this? Yeah, I'm getting new followers, and some of these. Okay. I don't know who that is, but interesting. That's over on Twitter. I monitor Twitter. But, whoever this guy is, you're going to get a few of these people that, well, if he blows something, it's probably not a whistle. But this guy seems to want to get Field Mcconnell put in jail because, he can't be in contact with certain people on that list that has to be provided to the court. He definitely can't have any contact at all with Timothy Holmseth under any circumstances. Yeah, what's funny is Field came into court and he had pilot's wings on his suit, which is all right, former pilot. That's valid. Yeah, he will be monitoring. The phone is going to be monitored. He has to inform the probation department of his phone numbers and so forth. If they catch him trying to get around the probation restrictions, it'll be revoked quickly. They're not fooling around. So, Field would be wise to just find something else to do with his time and get away from this nonsense, especially get away from going after Kim Picasio. It's, he's got to stop. He's been given a huge chance to go in a different direction, find something else to do, fiddle around with his cars, go for walks. He's got a big estate. He can walk around, go down to the local bar and have a drink or something, and just be a normal man. Enjoy his retirement. In 2 years, he might be able to travel again, go overseas, maybe visit his wife's cemetery, whatever. But, you know, he, he's free, but he's not free. He is going to be under very, very tight supervision. So I wholeheartedly agree, Alex. People out there that thought he was going to get out of this undamaged are very mistaken. If they want to delude themselves like the Stanley guy that he's free as a bird, they got nothing to think. Come on, when you're put on probation, you are not free. You are under control of the state. Another disgruntled employee. What do you know? Why am I not surprised that this clown is saying that Field Mcconnell's free? I'm pretty sure Field knows whether he's free or not. Just let him go and get on the internet and see how free he is. He'll find out real quick. So, what's funny is that Bill McConnell's the first offender. I mean, this is the first, as far as anybody knows, this is the first criminal offense he's ever been convicted of. And they were very harsh with him, Even the 2 misdemeanors that he was charged with, this is not a slap on the hand. He was facing potential 2 years in a county jail and then probation after that. And he started out getting a Class A felony that would have subjected him to 5 years in prison. So he's damn lucky that they were able to negotiate with Kim Picasio to cut him some slack. Now, she was a tough negotiator. She fought hard to get as much that she wanted into that plea agreement as she could get. And she got it. And, Field McConnell was told, shut up. Don't mention Kim. Don't have anything to do with her. Leave her alone. He still has to abide by the original order. There's no walking away from that. He's back to square one. And he cannot go on the internet at all. And he had to make a written apology to Kim Picasio. And it is under the condition she cannot reveal the contents of the apology to the general public. She can disclose it to her husband, she can disclose it to her family, and she can disclose it to the staff at her law firm, but she cannot disclose the specific terms of the apology. But Field has to apologize. And that, more than anything, has to be a lump in his stomach right now. That's his Maalox moment, because he has to apologize to a woman that he demonized for a long, long time. And so I guess the lawyer's going to help him draft it. And so on. Well, what's interesting, Boohoo, is I fly Delta or Northwest almost exclusively. And there's other flights that I do, but primarily Southwest. And I've run into pilots that know Field McConnell, and he's not very well liked. The veteran pilots that I've talked to are glad that he's gone. I have yet to find a pilot of either airline, because I do have some contact with Delta pilots, but not that much, that like him. Nobody likes Field Mcconnell except this one guy, and it's a guy that was fired. I guess he was kind of rubbing people the wrong way because he got the union advice. He even sued the freaking union. And so I like your draft, John. But it's enough that he has to do that. If I had to write a letter of apology to somebody for something that I believed I was right about, I would be so pissed. And so I can imagine right now Field sitting in a living room somewhere letting all this sink in. When you're in, he was in court. He's in court and all that. So, it's kind of, you go into a kind of like a zone where you're in shock and you're emotionless and all this. But when you sit down after everything is over with and you have a chance to contemplate, it's going to sink in that he was punished and punished hard for what he did. And another thing, it's not over. Phil McConnell has other issues that he's dealing with. First of all, he has the Internal Revenue Service. He's got well over $100,000 the last I checked in back taxes. And there's people that say that his taxes haven't paid. No, they're not, because you can do a record search. And the IRS has got a lien on a lot of stuff. And they're fighting tooth and nail with the bank that has the mortgage on the house because they want to auction the house. But the bank won't let them. They want to foreclose on it. And so there's a fight going on between the mortgage holder and the Internal Revenue Service. And the bank is actually named the Internal Revenue Service as a defendant. And so there's no telling how long that it's going to take to sort that mess out. And then there's the alleged threat he made to the bank official. And if I read the rumor correctly, he threatened a judge. So Paige, that was the gist of it, is that he was a wingnut, literally. And they had a hard time finding a crew that would fly with him. They almost went on strike over it. And finally, he was supposed to take a psych evaluation. He refused, so they fired him. That was a condition of him being a pilot. Any pilot for any airline is subject to a no warning psych evaluation. They come to you and say, you got to go see the shrink. You can't tell you, no, I ain't doing that. Because not only does the airline require it, but the Federal Aviation requires it. You can't do that. You have to, it's like taking a sobriety test. You got to do it. You either take the test or you don't fly. And so he didn't fly. And then he turned around and he sued the union for not backing him up or whatever the hell he did. And they didn't, they were just glad to see him the hell out of there. They said, here, take your pension and get the hell out of here. And, and he hasn't flown since. He hasn't flown a private plane. He hasn't flown a commuter airline or any of that. With all his ratings that he had, you would think he'd go out, he could be a charter pilot, get a Grumman Gulf, get a Gulfstream and go flying around in the Gulfstream or even in a Piper Aztec or something, but nope. He, as far as I know, he hasn't flown an airplane. Yeah, Warrior, he filed no contest. It's known as nolo contendere, which means I will not dispute. I will not contest the specific. And what it means is he says, okay, judge, I plead no contest. It's up to you. The judge adjudicated him guilty of 2 counts, misdemeanor counts. And he suspended the sentence and put him on probation. Now, the operative word here is suspended, not set aside, suspended. What that means is I am not going to enforce the sentence. I'm suspending it. It's like putting it on hold. And if you abide by the terms of your probation, then the sentence will be removed. But for the duration of his probation, that sentence is on the record as suspended. Now, I covered a case of a guy by the name of Derek Lossiter. And Derek Lossiter was convicted of wire fraud. And he was lying to the FBI in computer crimes. And they suspended his sentence for a while. He violated. And so the judge says, okay, you're going to jail. He then turned around and said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an ROR on you until you need to come back here and report. You have 3 months to get your affairs in order. Don't violate. What does he do? He makes a video about his case, and it was reported to the authorities. The judge said, well, I knew you were going to reoffend. Well, guess what, Derek? You're going to jail right now. And off he went. He had to report to jail earlier than was intended. And that's when I went up to Steubenville the day he was reporting to prison. Yeah, Fireman John, I would not be a bit surprised between Timmy and Pendergrass and then that other clown getting in there wanting to represent her and giving her all this unwarranted advice. That's that didn't help her. Now, one thing I did hear is that the lawyer for Phil Mcconnell is so happy that this is over and done with. He made an indication that Phil is the worst client he ever had. He said he was getting letters and calls and stuff from the craziest people on the planet Earth. He didn't realize that those people existed. He learned more about QAnon than he ever wanted to know. And that guy is so happy that this is over with, that he can, send Phil a bill and go on his merry way. And he made a lot of money. Somebody raised like $70,000 for him to pay his bill. And so all those people out there that thought that they were going to get Phil Mcconnell free and they was going to be back on the air are going to get a rude awakening, because all that money went down the toilet. He wound up losing everything, losing the internet, losing his channel. All those 250,000 people are gone. He can't communicate with them anymore. Fuck around, fuck off. I think that's what I take out of it. I would say fei fu, which is fuck around, fuck up. But, Um, Confidential sources, Sharp. Uh, but I was told by a confidential source that the attorney basically is glad to be away from Phil Mcconnell, that he just, you know, had it because everybody was contacting him. He was getting phone calls and all kinds of stuff. He was going crazy. And, you know, but it's funny in court, they, you know, uh, that was one of the first things that Kim said. He said, you went out and you got uh, one of your sovereign citizen lawyers, which is Kirk Pendergrass, and then you had the sense to get a bar qualified attorney that got your ass out of trouble. You know, so she made it crystal clear that it took a barfly to get him out of his mess. That Kirk Pendergrass or all these other people out there like David Strait, they couldn't do a thing for him. And so, que sera, sera to all these armchair lawyers out there. And she did bring up the fact that Nellie Blanchard killed Chris Hallett. And it was mainly because of this sovereign citizen thing. And judges in this country do not like sovereigns. They hate them because they screw up the courts. Florida's had a hell of a time with sovereign citizens filing these adverse possession forms and suing people and all this. And it drives them crazy. And here this guy winds up being a defense attorney for a sovereign. And it was not a pleasant experience for him. So. Well, she's going to find out he's not exonerated. He's on, when you're on probation, you're not exonerated. You know, he didn't walk out of there and go to the nearest bar and drink and celebrate and stuff. He went across the street and signed a piece of paper saying he abides by the probation and all the terms that are within it. And these terms are unavoidable. They're severe. He's going to be controlled by the very state that he detests. And, you know, I told Kim, I said, you know, the people are going to get on the air and they're going to find a way to spin it. And I guess this one guy has proven me right, because I told her, I said, these guys don't think logically. They're going to come up with some excuse. It's going to be nuts, but they're going to come up with an excuse as to why Phil Mcconnell got the deal he got. But it's not a not guilty plea. The state didn't enter a plea. The case was not dismissed. If the case had been dismissed, there would be no probation. He would be keeping his guns. He wouldn't have to give a list of every Tom, Dick, and Harry that he plans to contact. He'd be back on the air. Look at his split. None of that is happening. He has lost his show. He has lost his audience. He's going to be watched like a juvenile delinquent who has a curfew. He may not have a ankle bracelet, but he's still restricted. All the ankle bracelet does is make sure that you're not a flight risk. But if he violates his probation and goes where he's not supposed to go, it doesn't matter if he has a bracelet on or not. They are going to throw his ass back in jail. It happened to Derek Lawsoner, and it's happened to other people. You follow the rules. And Kim made that clear. She says, you've got to follow the rules. You were a Marine. You had to follow the rules. You got to follow the rules. And she said that to get the point across. They said, like it or not, we have rules in this country, and you have to follow the rules. Even if you're not a citizen, since he declares that he's no longer a citizen, Uh, and that was that. And yeah, what the problem is, and this came up at one of the earlier hearings, the attorney is going nuts trying to get it shut down because uh, apparently that's the site I think that Eager Beaver has something to do with. And they say he lost the login information and he can't get in there to shut it down. And for some reason, they can't get YouTube to shut it down. But the judge says, find a way to get it shut down. That's a priority. That is part of your probation to shut that thing down. Period. No excuses. Well, that's what I thought. I'm sitting there scratching my head trying to figure out why it's so damn hard to get that thing taken down. I mean, YouTube, all they got to do is go to the server and delete the software. I mean, this channel, all the channels on YouTube are sitting on a big box. It's as tall as it's in a warehouse. It's about 9 feet tall. And you got all these little things in a rack. And one of them is the server that has Field's channel on it. And all they got to do is go through a back door and delete the damn thing. God darn it. Stepped on something. Forgot it was there. Shit. Boy, that hurt. Okay. Yeah, the BitChute thing though is you're it's limited because the only people that go over to BitChute are right-wing nuts, Q-nuts, the minority. So you don't have that much impact. It's not a broad-based impact. It's a narrow beam. So, it's funny to look at. And they shut the comments off. Nobody can comment there because if they open the comments up, even the wing nuts go after them. Nobody likes them. They watch that channel for entertainment, and then they ridicule it. You get people putting porn in there and everything else, and so that's it. Well, I don't pay attention to Kirk Pendergrass. He probably does. But the one that they're concerned about is the one that has stuff on it that Bill Mcconnell put up there. They want it removed for that reason. And so the judge says, you guys figure it out, but I want that channel taken down, period. No excuses. Well, the videos that Field made have been archived. And I don't know how you control that. Field is not responsible for putting all of them out there. There's people that put them out there that ridicule Field to show how much of a wacko he is. And so they're on file sharing sites all over the internet. So I don't know how they would control that. But right now, the judge is concerned about this Field report or the report, whichever one it is. That's the one he's worried about. He wants that down because of the content that's on. They can't get the content that's on the channel removed, and he wants the channel taken down. And if it happens to be one that Eager Beaver set up and is operating, apparently Eager Beaver can't figure out how to take it down. I don't know as if I'd hire an IT producer who can't figure out how to remove content. That's what he's supposed to be able to do, is control the content. So they It was in the instruction. Take the channel down. Figure out how to legally get it down. Talk to YouTube. Do whatever. Get it down. And that's been on the judge's docket since the beginning. They have argued repeatedly about that channel and getting it taken down. And the defense just keeps saying, we can't figure out how to do it. We've tried. And we just can't get it taken down. The judge says, tough. Take it down. Figure it out. Is high command on BitChute a parody? I don't know. I don't go over there that often. The only time I go over there is just check the headlines on the one channel there that's linked out of Tim Holmes's blog. Because that's what they do is they use the blog as a jumping off point. And I'm over there now. This high command is not a parody. Their latest thing that they put up tonight is Pentagon Pedophile Task Force confirmed by DOD, JAG, and no, it has not been confirmed. This nitwit they got over here that does his speechifying or whatever he does. It's not been confirmed. Let's see, we got it looks like a bunch of stick drawings, kitty stuff. But this guy, he's just another wingnut. It's funny, if you go over to the blog, it's not there. It's this Texas sheriff receives information on CIA finders hunting Michael and Sophie Long. So, but I think it's a parody of themselves, actually, because it's a joke. So, but that's funny. I got up to 40 people tonight. I have never seen that many people in this channel for a long time. So thank you, everybody that came in, regardless of who you are. We're gradually growing. I had a subscriber jump up to 1,021 so far. So, that's good. I'm glad, we're making progress. I'm at the point I needed to be at in order to get certified by the court system in Florida to cover these cases. And so I'm far exceeded those requirements. So I'm all set in that regard. And I was accepted into some trade associations and got myself press credentials. So that's going to help in the future at some point. Yeah, well, Woods, what can you say about Woods? I mean, and they believe this stuff. That's the thing, I saw that and I go, what? There is such a thing as a Hippocratic oath, but you cannot talk common sense to these people. There's no point in even trying. All we can do is sit here and critique what they do, but you're not going to make much of a dent in anything they do. You're not going to change any minds. You're not going to make it so they have an epiphany and it's like, by God, he's right. We've been screwing up. That's not going to happen. That's not my goal. My goal is tell the truth to lies. Get the truth out there. People are going to make up their own damn mind. But there's so many people out there that we'd be playing whack-a-mole until we take our dirt naps. They're just, these people are always going to be out there. And all we can do is just keep bringing awareness. We're all doing it. It's not me alone. Everybody does it. And if we can prevent one person from being a victim of one of these idiots, then we've done our job. We're not going to eliminate all of it. There's still going to be that trickle of victims. And there'll probably be another Chris Hallett. There's already been this guy out in California that I'm going to start talking about, because that case is going to be moving along here at the end of the month. So, it's not a thing where we're going to go around and eliminate all this. It's not going to happen. I don't even begin to have even the smallest way to do it. All right, and since you want to do that, because this is going to be the, let's see, where is that command? There we go. Because Levi's coming on at 10:30, so I want to make sure that I log off, because I'm going to go right over and chat in his webcast and see what he comes up with. There it is. Hopefully it's a... But the thing of it is I'm not here for congratulations. I'm just trying to provide information that people can study and decide for themselves what they want to do. Do they want to believe this stuff, or what? Okay, John, how you doing?
Good evening. And I was impressed, just isn't good enough word to describe your efforts in covering this. And nobody else is covering it. I can't tell you how important it was to have somebody there on the ground to actually...
Well, I'm glad to do it. And the thing of it is, all the credit for what happened today goes to Kim and those that have helped her. I mean, Alex has helped her, Levi's helped her. There's been a lot of people. This is a team effort. I'm just a small cog in the machine here. Everybody else had their role and still has their role in bringing this to some kind of a conclusion.
Yeah. Well, and I totally agree with you. However, the guy that the boots on the ground, none of this would happen without the boots on the ground. You've certainly been the boots on the ground, and I think people realize you're going to be doing this for ABCUG. You're going to be doing this for Neely, hopefully. Mm-hmm. And I don't think there's anybody else that's going to be doing this. So I'm hoping, by that time, that people are really paying attention, and that your channel grows, and you're because I don't even know if Law and Order TV is going to cover Neely's trial. They may, but still, just having somebody on the ground like that, sitting there, where you could see him walk in and hear what was going on and see it. I mean, it's just very important as a document of all this and what's going on. So I hope you appreciate just how we feel about all the work that you've done, because I think that's everybody that knows you in the chat room. It's Alex and Levi and many other people. And like I said, without the boots on the ground, it doesn't get done. So.
Well, I appreciate that. I've always believed that it's always a good idea to have someone there to give the kind of insight that you don't even get out of a BitChute or out of a Zoom. because yes, Kim gave a very intense and emotional victim statement, but to see her waving her hands around, all the gesturing she was doing, and staring Field Mcconnell down was something you had to see. I mean,
God, I
she
wanted
was
to.
throwing him daggers, and they're not that far apart. They're only a couple feet apart because you got Kim and some lady, and then you got the lawyer and you got Field, and they're like right there. They could almost they could shake hands. They were that close.
I was actually I was trying to turn that camera through my device to not to point the other way. But I think if I had unmuted and asked the judge that, I probably would have got charged with contempt. But yeah, I would have loved to see that. But you described it. I mean, you described it how red his face got, and
Yeah, he turned beet red.
we all know, and that victim statement. I mean, it was beautiful. I mean, I've never heard a better one in a matter like this, and ending with the Bible verse as and saying that you use Bible verses while you were threatening to kill me. I won't threaten to kill you, but I've got a Bible verse here. And she read Proverbs and the 7 things that detest God. It was just, I mean, stellar. I just couldn't.
Okay, to answer the question that came up, what was Field's mood? He was very subdued. Now, when he was out in the hallway talking to his lawyer, he was loud and animated. It was like they were sitting at a bar or someplace and just chatting like a couple guys do. But when he got into court, and as the things progressed, he got very quiet and very subdued. And it's almost like he wanted to bury his face in his chest, especially during Kim's statement. I mean, he would not look at her. He would look at the judge for a minute, and then the next thing you know, he's staring at the floor. And by the time when he got out of court, all that animation went away. It was like he just wanted to get the hell out of there. And what is strange is that the lawyer left the court to take care of the probation business, and Field stayed there for almost a half. That's why I was sitting there for so long, because Field would not come out. He sat in there and watched the other cases, and then eventually they came back and got him and marched him off to the probation department.
Yeah, he may have been in custody of the bailiff until they could okay all his
That's
probation.
a possibility. I never, but it wasn't like he wasn't really in custody or anything, because they were hearing other cases in there, but he was all the way in the back of the courtroom, right next to the door. And he just sat there all by himself. And I think he got chatting with a guy that was there for another case, but eventually they came and got him. And I just sat there on my little church pew waiting for him to come out. And 10:35 out he walked.
And the other well, there was 2 parts that I remember, because he was kind of cocky when he went in there.
Oh, yeah.
The judge is asking the questions, if he's mentally competent and so on. And then the judge asked him about, is he under the influence? He said, well, I took an aspirin this morning. I mean, shut the hell up. Really? Yeah. You took an aspirin? How about just no, I'm not under the influence?
I think he was trying to be jovial and funny, and it didn't work. The judge wasn't having any of it. And as things progressed, he just got silent, and it was yes, sir, no, sir, whatever you say, sir. And he got very quiet.
And I cheered when I heard the condition that he's to have no contact with Timothy Homeseth. That was like a touchdown,
Yeah. And the judge actually said it twice, because they had before they officially got the proceeding going, they said, now, as part of this, he was kind of going through it, because he was asking them, you signed this, do you understand? And he said, you are not to have contact with Tim Homeseth. Yeah. And then when it went to the formal sentencing and laying out of everything, he said it again. And, when you go through the detail of all the requirements that Field has to fulfill, he is in for a rough 2 years. He's basically in a gilded cage up there because the state of Wisconsin's going to take it over. It's not Florida anymore. It's handed over to the state of Wisconsin. Wisconsin's going to handle it, and then they report back to Florida. But, you're sitting there watching TV, or maybe you're in bed reading a magazine, and all of a sudden, bang, 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 in comes the probation officer without warning. And 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, he has to worry about a probation officer walking into the house to inspect the house.
And I would imagine that judge was informed that Tim has a warrant in that county for the same offense and one in Minnesota, and that Tim was a big part in that conspiracy to harass and stalk Kim. So that's and I'd be real interested to see how much of the whole court record that we can get at some point to read, because I'm sure there's a lot about Mr. Holmseth in that court file.
Yeah, that's what I'm working on, and I've got to find out how much of that's going to be releasable, when I can get it, and how much it's going to cost. But my primary goal is to get my hands on the conditions of the probation, because it's all going to be done in writing. There's going to be very specific information there, and that's what I want to get to and report and be accurate about it.
Yeah, Alex would call that a FAFO FOIA.
Yeah.
and maybe Larry Nemmers would do the FOIA for us, do you think?
I can guarantee you he's going to be writing, and I'll do a FOIA to see if he did a FOIA. We're going to be foiling going to be foiled up. The poor clerk down there's going to go nuts with everybody asking for FOIAs.
FOIAing around.
Yeah. Yeah, because these people don't realize, if you send an email to anyone in the state of Florida for any reason, it's a matter of public record. When I was covering the Casey Anthony case, she was getting love letters and then commissary, the commissary things. We knew what that woman ate every day. We knew who was sending her money. They even they took a picture of the envelope that had the person's name and address on it that's sending her all this stuff. And so we were checking almost every day to see, what's Casey doing at the commissary this week? And we knew what kind of feminine napkins she was using. We knew that, the food that she was eating and all kinds of stuff. If she bought shampoo, we knew it. It was funny. Yeah. And, we were getting real personal. Because I'd be on there, said, okay, guys, got another list. Here's what Casey did today. And I said, this is who wrote the Casey, and this is what they said. People have no idea. They had absolutely no privacy in that case. And that's just the way Florida works. Everything is open.
I think this is a great body of work that you're going to have. And nobody else will have the complete this complete case from Pendergrass to Blanchard to Mcconnell to Abcug. Nobody will have a historical record of that. That'll be that's a big deal to me. And probably everybody that watches.
I try my best because that's the thing. Because Levi's the same way. The social media and the true crime sector of social media does what the national media will not do. And they cover these individual cases because, we may get 10, 20, 30, 40 people, but those 10, 20, 30, 40 people are interested in these cases. And so I tried to provide that resource so that they aren't out there saying, gee, I wonder what happened. They can tune in on a Saturday night and there we are.
Yeah.
And you got me. Oh, go ahead.
You heard Kim in her statement. These are dangerous people. I mean,
they are.
She mentioned Neely's murder. you
Hmm.
know. And you could see the judge's face. You know, he was in profile while she was giving that statement, and his
Hmm.
face even behind the mask, you know, said a lot. So
Yeah, he yeah, I could tell by his demeanor that he was not happy with Field at all. Um, and he says, "I hope that I never see you in court again." You know, that's pretty blunt.
yeah, yeah.
So,
You don't have to come back here, but if you do, you know, there's going to be a problem. He'll.
yeah,
And
he says,
I can't. And I could be wrong, but I can't imagine that ego being able not to violate that probation. And probation is kind of set up for you to violate it. I mean, it's
yeah,
very difficult. There's all these conditions, you know, all this paperwork, and if you screw up any of it, um, you know, you can get violated, and then he'll be back on a VOP. And just because he gets violated doesn't necessarily mean some people get 2 or 3 VOPs before they do their sentence. But if it's egregious enough, he'll get violated. He'll be extradited back to Florida, and then he'll do 5 years in the state prison system and be a convicted felon. And I would hope right now, as we're talking, he's praying somewhere and thanking whoever he prays to, um, of the deal that he got, because getting out of this without being a convicted felon is a big deal, and it's
yeah. He
oh,
got a colossal break, and it was Kim that gave it to him
yes,
because she could have said no, we're not going that way. I want him tried for the felony, or he's going to have to plead to a felony, and they said no. Um, you know, they pleaded with Kim. They said, "What can we do to get him on this misdemeanor, put him on probo with time served, and let him go home?" And that's finally what they did. But it's a very complicated and detailed thing that they did. Everybody, we have got 2
yep,
minutes
yep.
before Levi comes on, and I'm not going to step on his show, even though I've got some extremely good numbers. I thank all of you for coming in. Let us all go next door to Levi Page, because he's probably got a lot of inside information himself about what happened today. So thank you all for showing up. Please like, subscribe, hit the like button, and stay tuned as we journey together down the road of true crime. And have a good one.
See you at
See you on the
Levi's.
other side.
Good night.